Hey y'all, Dan with the Southern Paddler channel here. I recently did a video on my gear loadout for day trips, but now I want to do one for my loadout, more or less, for my overnight camping trips. This is not going to be comprehensive. I'm not going to talk about everything that I bring, but I am going to talk about some of the main things that I bring with me on my overnight camping trips, both canoe and kayak camping. And it does change depending on which boat I'm in. Obviously in my kayak, there's a little less space, have to be a little more selective, mindful of space, but in my canoe, have all the space I want, so I bring more stuff, I bring bigger stuff. So I'll talk about those as I go through it, but let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start with my sleep system, all my sleep stuff. I prefer sleeping in a hammock. I have an Eno double nest and the Atlas straps that come with it. And so one thing that I don't always bring, but I did bring on this trip, almost needed it, was an extra set of straps in case you really have to reach out. Now, if I do that, that means that my rain fly isn't going to fit. I don't have it set up today because there was no chance of rain last night, but I did have it with me, and I always have it with me. And as it gets colder, it can be, the rain fly can not only shield you from obviously rain and water, or frost and dew, but also it keeps the wind off of you, it stays a little warmer in there. But last night it was only going to be down in the 40s. I wanted to see the sky, pretty stars last night, so when I can I'll go without the rain fly, but it does help for a number of reasons. But anyway, as I was saying, if the trees are too far apart, that means that the rain fly, you know, I have to have some extra cord for that. I always do have some extra paracord, so I could probably make that work. But I don't think I've ever actually had to use two sets of straps. So anyway, I have my one Tigris under quilt, and it just connects to the end with a little carabiner right there. So inside I have my Thermarest ProLite pad. It does insulate, you know, give you a little warmth. However, I use it mainly, you can see how the hammock's just kind of spread out here. I use it to spread it out because I don't like it kind of being pressing in on my shoulders and stuff, so I use the pad mainly for that. I have a Wise Owl Snoozy pillow that just has a little stuff sack. You definitely always want to have plenty of light, but I'll talk more about that in a minute. I have my Teton Sports Trailhead sleeping bag. I think it's rated at like 20 degrees. It is a mummy style bag, and I can zip it up, and it's got a little hoodie that comes over my head. This is just a little Ozark Trail. That's your Walmart special top quilt. I only use it when it's really cold. I did use it last night, and it was, I don't know if I really needed it, but it was nice. I did enjoy it. And so, and then I have my ground sheet, which is a Terra Hiker ground sheet. It can be used for tents, but I use it as just a kind of a floor mat for when I set up. And that way, if I have to get out of the hammock or whatever, I got kind of a clean place to put my sock feet. I like these big dry duffel bags. They're just roll top duffel bags. That's like probably a 70 liter. That yellow one's maybe 50 or 60 or something. But those are great, especially for canoe camping. There's my canoe down there. For carrying lots of gear, and you know, and you can just grab one in each hand, and so it's real handy. So that's basically my sleep system. Let's see, my housefly and my you know, some more extra stakes and stuff to hold stuff down, but that's pretty much it as far as my sleep stuff goes. Here's my table and chair, which is covered with ash from my fire, but and this is one of those things. So this is just basically a big lawn chair. When I'm in my canoe, I will bring that because it's more comfortable, and I have plenty of space, so I like to sit in that when I'm camping. And I'm only going to bring that really on just a single overnighter. If I'm doing a multi-day trip, I do have a true kind of smaller camp chair. I think it's a G4 free. It's the same as the table. See, this is a table here. This is a table that Colton got me for, I think, my birthday a year or so back, but that's a great table. But I have a chair from the same company. And it is a heavy-duty chair. I'm unfortunately about 250 right now, so when I buy this camping stuff, a lot of it tends to be lightweight, but I have to make sure that it can hold me up. I've already been through one of the camp chairs, but I did get a heavy duty this time, and it's worked well. But my camp table is something that I really like and enjoy. I had all kinds of crap on it earlier. I've kind of got some of the stuff off of it, but that's so handy to have, to put, you know, your meals and gear on. You can see I'm charging stuff. That's something else I usually bring. I don't always bring these on overnighters, but if I know I'm going to be hanging out a while, I'm like, why not just keep the phone and the GoPro batteries charged up. But I did bring those 2 battery banks, and so I got stuff charging there now. But the table's nice. They do have smaller ones, and I got a big trip coming up in a couple months that's going to be like 8 to 10 days, and so I'm probably going to go ahead and order one of those smaller camp tables. That one rolls up real tight. It's about as big around as an umbrella, but not as long. Super light, but it is, you know, 2.5 feet long, however long that table is. So I'm probably going to get a smaller one to take on that next big trip, but it is really nice having a table. So, all right, so now I'm going to talk about some of the other items that I bring with me on my trip. Okay, so earlier I showed you my little camp light that can hang, that I keep around my hammock. You definitely want to have some light, flashlights with you when you go camping overnight. If you only take one, make it a headlamp, because these things are so handy where you can just, you know, put them on your head, and then whatever you're doing, your light is right there shining where you're looking at. Especially when you're paddling, these are handy because not only can you use them around camp, but if you have to paddle in the dark, they can give you light while you're on the water. So I always have usually more than one headlamp with me, and this one's nice because it has both a flood and a spot mode. So spot mode I'll use on the water because it'll, you know, show further down the river. Flood you use more in camp to see a wider area and stuff, so that's something I always have. A big flashlight, you know, this is a luxury item, really. You don't have to have one of these, and I'm not real sure why you would need this if you've already got something small, but I do sometimes bring these, but not every trip. So when I did my video on my gear loadout for day trips, I didn't mention this, but it is something that I almost always have with me, and that is wet wipes and or toilet paper. I just about always have it on every trip, but definitely on overnighters you want to take this, and of course that includes a digging spade for overnight trips, especially where you know you're going to use it. That's in my one of my duffel bags, but it's a little, I think it's a SOG fold up little shovel spade. It's really nice. So, but yes, you definitely want to always have some wet wipes and toilet paper. I keep mine in a gallon Ziploc baggie for 2 reasons. First of all, it kind of keeps them together, especially when you have a big duffel bag. But it also just adds an extra layer of keeping stuff dry, because especially the toilet paper, you want it dry, it gets wet, it's useless. So always have that. I think, and I've probably shown it earlier in several videos, I'm not going to show it here, but I do have a jet bowl, and that's what I use to make my coffee and my meals. So I always bring either Mountain House or Peak Refuel dehydrated meals. I don't actually cook on the river. Some of my videos you see me, like if I'm doing a short overnighter, I'll bring my grill, charcoal, and some meat, and I'll grill. I will do some grilling on the river, but most of the time, especially for multi-day trips, that's a lot of stuff to keep up with, you know, and you can't always bring enough charcoal, and sometimes cooking over wood, you don't know what you're going to get flavor-wise, but I usually just do the dehydrated meals on my multi-day and overnight trips, and they're all basically just add boiling water. So I use my jet bowl. You know, I mentioned in my other video, I don't have a lot of name brand stuff, but the jet bowl is one of them. And it's one of those things that, you know, they're not cheap, but they are really good. They do boil the water quick, so I've been real pleased with mine. However, in less than a year, the little piezo lighter, I think it's called, the little push button starter, went out. So I have to keep just a regular cigarette lighter in the jet bowl big thing, I don't even know what you call it, kettle. But everything fits in there, and you put the lid on it, so it's nice, so it keeps it together. But I do use a jet bowl for my meals and coffee. Now this is a spent fuel canister that I keep in with my jet bowl that it uses. This one ran out last night as I'm fixing my meal. I did have an extra one, so that's something I usually bring for, if I know it's new, I may not bring it for just an overnighter, but on multi-day trips, absolutely, I'm going to bring a backup canister because this one's run out on me, so it's going in the garbage. All right, now this is a luxury item. This is a hatchet, and I say luxury because this is pretty heavy, and they can be, you got to be careful. You don't want this to get into a dry bag or cut your boat or something like that. But for single overnight trips, a lot of times I will take this because they're just handy to have to cut wood or whatever. But multi-day trips, I'll probably won't take that, but I will take one of these two. This is a Corona folding saw. This thing is incredibly sharp. I've had this thing for a couple years now, and I love this thing. I use this thing so much. And so if I'm just going to take one thing that cuts, it's going to be this. And I'll tell you why. First of all, it's lightweight, it's strong, and as you can see, it folds up, so it doesn't take up a lot of space. This is good not only for cutting limbs and stuff or firewood, but it's also very handy to keep in your boat if you're having to clear limbs and clear through dead trees that's fallen in the water. And I've had to do that many times. So this Corona folding saw is great. But I will tell you that my one beef with this thing is, you see this little gap right there? I wish that wasn't there because the teeth are exposed, and if you're not careful, you can hit those. And I have cut my fingers so many times on that thing. At one point, I actually had a little homemade cardboard sleeve that I kept this in to keep my hands from getting on it, or keep, some paracord, or again, part of the dry bag. But anyway, this Corona folding saw just about goes with me on every trip. I love this thing. Now, this is a folding bow saw, and this is nice too. It's pretty lightweight and very durable, and it cuts really good, and it cuts bigger stuff really good. So, this will probably do you, but if you think you might need to cut some bigger stuff, this is nice. And so the cool thing about this is, you kind of unlatch that, you fold it up here, get it kind of tucked in there, fold up, and bam, there you go. So that's your storage mode. And the nice thing about this is there is no part of the blade that's exposed on this, so you're not going to cut or tear anything accidentally. And again, it's fairly lightweight, and that's pretty compact. It's a little long, but it's it's small in diameter, so it'll fit in a lot of places in a boat. So again, I don't always take my this folding bow saw, but it is a nice thing to have when I do use it to cut bigger stuff. There's so many more things I could probably talk about. I didn't really make a list. I probably should have planned it out a little better, but some other things I take on multi-day trips is usually an extra paddle. If you're doing it out there for several days, I have broken a paddle before, so it's good to have a backup there. And of course, depending on your preference, but it's always good to have some dry clothes. Usually on multi-day trips, I might even take 2 or 3 sets of clothes. You have to change out at some point, but like today I did bring, let's see, I can't remember, I may not have brought some extra pants. That might have been a mistake. But usually on overnight trips, especially in cooler weather like it is, it's December now, a dry set of clothes is a good thing to have in case unthinkable happens, you end up getting wet somehow. That way you can immediately put on the dry clothes and then start hanging up and drying out your whatever's wet. I do have a couple extra shirts. I got on base layers, have a couple hoodies, and so that's some extra clothes is always a good thing to have when you're doing a canoe or kayak camping trip. Another thing that's good to have is a knife. And I just about always have a pocket knife. This is a little locking blade knife, and these are nice because I like a blade that locks, so when you're really trying to work on something, it won't accidentally fold up and cut your fingers off or hurt yourself. Well, you can do that anyway, but still. But have that. I have a little Leatherman Micro, little multi-tool. This one folds out and has scissors on it and some screwdrivers and files and different stuff, can opener, so really handy. So I'll usually have those things with me, but I do try to have a bigger knife, and I've got one in one of my dry bags that I take. I don't know if I showed it on my day trip loadout, but I do usually have a bigger knife. But definitely always handy to have a knife with you, cutting paracord and maybe just cutting through some limbs and stuff. I always, if I don't have my leather gloves with me when I'm doing an overnight trip, I've messed up. I love these things. These are they're great for picking up firewood, fighting through briars and stuff, gathering the wood. and they're really good for kind of handling the fire, keeping it contained. You can pick up, you know, wood that's on fire and set it down quickly. You know, the leather, you know, the fire isn't going to hurt the leather in just a few seconds. Usually what's the first thing to go on these things is the seams, the threads that hold these leather panels together. The fire will get to those before they get to, you know, before they burn through the leather. And I always find out because I'll pick something up and all of a sudden I burn my hand. I'm like, what happened? And I realize that one of the seams has turned loose because the threads got all burnt and singed. So, but I love having leather gloves to kind of help control the fire and deal with that. They're very handy. The last thing I guess that I'll probably mention, I'm not going to show you and I'm not going to say what it is, but I think, you know, I rarely take it on day trips, but usually overnight camping trips I do. Just a little peace of mind, a little something extra to just kind of help make sure me and everyone is safe. In the summertime, sometimes on day trips, yeah, because there are alligators in these waters. I've seen an alligator right here in Kayak Creek. I don't know that it gets cold enough here to where they go into that brumation stage. That's kind of like hibernation for reptiles, where they bury themselves up and just, you know, metabolism slows down and they just kind of sleep through the winter. So I don't know if they do that here. I've never seen one in the winter, but I have seen them on this creek and actually not far from here. So, you know, I've been out in Bankhead hiking and camping. They've got wild boar out there. They can be dangerous. So, you know, whatever your reason, you know, I'm not going to make a big case about it, but I do. And so I just wanted to mention that. But I guess that kind of wraps it up. Again, there's probably some other little things. Hopefully I hadn't forgot anything major. If I have, leave me a comment like Brian did on my day trip when he mentioned the wipes. I should have mentioned those in that one, but they're always with me. So if I forgot something, or if you have a suggestion for something I should have that I didn't mention or don't bring, let me know in the comments, because I'm always looking to improve my loadout. I'm not really, again, I'm not a good packer. I don't always pack efficiently or real smart, especially in my canoe. I bring the kitchen sink, you know, I just come for comfort, and you've seen the big lawn chair that I bring. But on kayak trips or longer trips, you have to be more selective, so I definitely put more thought into those. I usually make a list and go over it. And two, and you know, especially the first time you do bigger trips, it's a good thing to practice loading everything in your boat. You know, get everything in your dry bags, figure out where your dry bags are going to fit, how they're going to fit. Again, it's a lot more important for a kayak than a canoe, but it's still good to kind of do some test loadouts and packing and make sure, you know, everything fits and you can carry the stuff you want. So that's basically the highlights, I think, of my overnight camping trips. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Like I said, leave me some comments, and we'll see y'all on the next one.